Hello everybody, my name is Charles Bota and I am the General Manager for Shoprite Zambia. Now, Shoprite Zambia is the largest retail chain in Zambia. There are quite a few retail chains, but we are the largest and by far I'd like to boast. We are found in every single province except Mchinga. So in the context of large retail chain stores like Shoprite, and in Zambia you've got mainly three. And of those three, Shoprite is obviously by far the largest in terms of a number of aspects, volume, number of stores, and so on. But what does quality local value chain mean for the likes of ourselves? We are, first of all, an international brand, not just a national brand. So Shoprite is the biggest chain store, not just in Zambia, but in Africa. Now, what that means, therefore, is everybody knows our brand in the countries in which we trade and sometimes in the countries in which we don't. In Zambia itself, every province knows what kind of a professional retail store we are. So we cannot afford to have substandard product. There are challenges that we face, and the most obvious ones are quite a few of the businesses still do not understand just the size of our business and how difficult it is to deal with a business like ours. The volumes alone are, excuse the pun, voluminous. And the size of our business is something that doesn't need many people. But secondly, just the fact that, you ought to be professional. I mean, something as basic as that. So I'll give an example. 2 days ago, somebody sent me a sample. I asked for a sample of their product. It's a drink that they're going to import and supply here. It's not yet on the Zambian market. Well, they sent it in a piece of plastic, 4 bottles in a piece of plastic, wrapped around with sellotape. I mean, if that's what you're going to bring as professionalism, we probably won't even go past just the greeting. Don't do due diligence on their side, first of all. So when they walk through the door, they do not have the kind of confidences that we're kind of looking for. And the buyers are busy people. They're seeing many, many people. They don't have all the time to just sit there and then take you through the paces. Quite often, I'm easier to handle or to deal with rather because I do have a little bit extra time. But if you're going to see the buyers, you must be prepared. You must be organized. So the first challenge is that most are not prepared for the size of our business. But that aside, the main issues to do with the business, many of the challenges are to do with quality, hygiene, traceability. Where do you produce the product if you're making it locally? And most of us are just starting out, so we don't have the necessary licenses, hygiene licenses, ZEMA licenses, and all that, and we just come. Now, the size of our business, we need to be sure that you have all your ducks in a row. So your premises must be properly licensed. If you're going to be processing, you must have proper licensing so that we're not on the wrong end of the stick in terms of regulators. But the other thing that is a problem tends to be the branding, just the look and feel of the product. And then also the volumes, although, we've kind of gone around that by cutting it down to you can supply 2, 3, or 4 stores rather than the entire 41. But the volumes tend to be a challenge. For instance, if you're supplying Manda Hill, I mean, Manda Hill is not a shop where you supply 10 products when you make an order. Manda Hill is a monster. It's actually a monster in terms of business. So that the volume tends to be a bit of a problem. But also pricing for most of our Zambian MSMEs and SMEs tends to be a problem. There's quite a bit of fluctuations on pricing. We prefer a level of pricing. If you give us a price, don't change it for the next 3 months or 6 months if you can. If you can't, come and talk to us, yes. But, we prefer kind of like a flat pricing for a while to come. Now, many find that difficult because it's difficult to hold the price because they only have one or just 2 products. And then the logistics as well. For many, tend to be a problem. They don't have a van, they don't have a truck, and so they're using the back of a car or something, or they're hiring transport with other people, and that tends to be a little bit of a problem. So having spoken about those challenges, I'd like to just talk to you now about how do we assist suppliers overcome those challenges. And there's a few things that we put in place. So the one I've already kind of hinted at or spoken about, we used to be very rigorous, very strict about when you come to us, do you have the volume to supply 41 stores at that time? We changed that policy. As I said, it cannot work for a country like Zambia, not at this stage. So we changed that policy. So now we assist you as a local person, local supplier, by demanding less volumes of you at the very beginning by allowing you to supply one, maybe two, maybe three stores. So we've got some suppliers that supply, for instance, Livingston alone, some of the copper belt stores. So that's how we help overcome that sort of a challenge. We ask for less volumes in that sense. In terms of cash flow, most of the MSMEs and SMEs, live off cash. So you supply a product, you can't wait the normal 30 days that the size of our business requires in terms of payment terms. So we've cut the payment terms back. We still do 30 days for the larger suppliers, but we also do now 14 days for the smaller suppliers. And in some cases, we do 7 days for the very small suppliers, and one or two small suppliers, we still do cash. You supply only Kasama alone on the fruit and vegetable side. There's a guy supplying cabbages there, just him alone doing vegetables in Kasama. And so we've kind of overcome that challenge. So it's easier on the people, and then they build their capacity. So for example, the gentleman in Kasama has now, he started with Mansa rather, he's now gone on to supply Kasama because he's now grown a bit bigger after supplying us for close to now a year and a half. So he's moving on to the second store, which is Kasama, and then he'll move on to the copper belt stores. So that's how we help overcome that sort of a challenge. We ask for less volumes in that sense. In terms of cash flow, most of the MSMEs and so that's how we've helped to overcome that challenge in terms of cash flow. Logistics, what we've done is that we have got on board a number of outsourced companies who themselves are therefore feeding off Shoprite. So they're not our trucking companies, but you own a trucking company, you've got 7 trucks or maybe 12 trucks or 20 trucks, whatever the case may be. And we now lock you in to take on our suppliers. So the supplier comes, they don't have a truck of their own, but we link them up with that transporting company, and they're able to put 2-3 boxes going to Mongo. Another supplier puts 10 boxes, 40 boxes, the truck is full, off they go to Mongo, Kasama, Solwezi, Mansa, Chipata, and so on. So that's how we've helped kind of overcome that challenge. The other challenge of just the matter of understanding hygiene, traceability, processing at your plant, what is necessary to be there. We have our teams going out, especially on the fruit and vegetable side, to visit your facility. So whether it's a farm or whether it's a house, whatever it is, we visit the facility and then we give some advice, especially on the agricultural side, so on. And then we have a chat around those things to try and help you come to the capacity where you can actually supply us. So we go around the country doing that, and you're at liberty to contact me to ask, come to my farm or come to my facility and see if you can help us move on. And that's what we basically have done to help with that challenge. Then the challenge of marketing, the challenge of pricing. Well, our buyers are experts. You have a sit down. We used to be very, very difficult in the past. I'd like to think we are not as difficult. I act often as an arbitrator myself. As I say, if you're having trouble with the buyers, you come through to my office. I'm very accommodating. We have a sit down. We take you through the paces and see and try and help you where we are. For example, that supplier that I spoke about in terms of bringing, four bottles in a plastic and all that, ordinarily would have thrown them into the, dustbin and then closed the chapter. I didn't do that. We wrote back to them and said to them, could you be a little bit more professional? And we explained. And then I gave them through what is necessary. Bring your pricing, bring your marketing, bring your logistics, bring your all of the things that are kind of necessary, and then we can still have a sit down and discuss. So that's another way that we've gone around the issues of the challenges. What kind of criteria do we use to support local suppliers and manufacturers? Well, the main thing has been in the past that you would have to be a business that is big in terms of volumes, in terms of quantities, in terms of reach across the country, because we're all over the country. We discovered, or realized rather, with research and feedback, that is not going to work for a country like Zambia. We are still in the early stages of MSMEs, some SMEs, and then a few large companies. So in order to make the economy work and our own value chain work, we needed to change our policy to incorporate even small, MSMEs. So the criteria that we use now is not that you need to supply the entire country, but that you can supply at all. So if possible, we obviously not just one store, but if possible, you supply 2-3 stores. At least the size is not the same as the 41 stores that we originally asked. So one of the things we ask of you is, can you supply? Do you have the quantities for Manda Hill, for example? Manda Hill and Pinnacle Mall, we call it Kablonga, for example. And if you have those two, then start with those two and then we move on. What else do we look for? Quality packaging, branding, marketing. If you have money towards marketing, that always helps because it is your product, you're bringing it to us. Logistics, you should be able to, we don't come to you to collect, except in certain instances, fresh. And then, of course, pricing. Pricing, it must be competitive with what is happening in the market so that you are not outpriced, we are not outpriced. That is really the selection criteria that we have. So if you I want to pose a challenge as a final thing to the audience. Do not just make product for just Shoprite Zambia or the other competitors Zambia. Think about now the market that is open out there. I said to you, we are already sourcing locally 90%. That means there's very little shelf space left for a number of the things. In the non-foods category, there's 78% shelf space still left for local manufacturers. In the foods categories, there's little shelf space left. If you're coming with honey, we've already got 10 types of honey. If you're coming with water, we've got 18 types of water, and so it goes. However, the market out there, the export market is looming. And we're encouraging those of you that are able to think through what can you supply to those countries. Come to us and we'll have a discussion around what can be done to supply those countries, what is needed in those countries. A few things that I can put on the table. We're already doing quail, or trying to do quail into Mozambique and Angola and South Africa. We're already doing frozen chips, and we need different suppliers. We've now got just the one, which is Bamba. We need 3, 4, 5 more suppliers for frozen chips to go across the country. And so the story goes. So the market out there, with all the trade protocols that countries are signing with Zambia and with one another, the market out there is far, far, far bigger than is the Zambian market here. And you can use our logistics chain to go out there.